About ready to get going on the last day of the 2024 calendar season for North Carolina. UNC and Campbell as the Heels finish the non-conference schedule against an in-state team facing Campbell for the first time. Kevin Brown, Dan Bonner, delighted to be with you all. Hope you've had a great holiday season. We know Ian Jackson has.
Well, Ian, this guy is an exceptional talent. Very athletic, explosive. He scored 24 points in the win against UCLA. His minutes have increased throughout the season. He obviously had an excellent three-point shooter, but he is explosive. He can get to the goal. They'd like him to be a little bit better defensively, but when you can put points up at that rate, they tend to overlook your defense sometimes.
And it's his first career start tonight because this man is not starting. Seth Trimble suffered an upper body injury in practice yesterday. The hope is it's not serious, but UNC will hold him out of today's game. So the Tar Heels without their second leading scorer and their co-leading rebounder, Seth Trimble, still heavily favored to beat this Campbell team in UNC's final game before ACC play really gets going. Lee Cassell throws it with Bert Smith and Brent Hampton filling out our officiating crew. It is an in-state meeting. Campbell from Buies Creek, about an hour down the road. And the first bucket is to UNC's Jalen Washington off the lob from Elliot Cadeau.
People have complained that North Carolina's size hasn't been productive, but they are way bigger than Campbell. So Campbell's going to have to do a really good job forcing them out to the perimeter.
And Campbell gets a stuff inside. That's Caleb Zerlini, who is in there for the injured Terran Frank. Other side, Jackson rims out a three, and we can look at the Heels starting five. Davis, Cadeau with a freshman, Jackson and Drake Powell starting together, and Jalen Washington returning to the starting lineup. Had a big putback late against UCLA. Jen, thank you. Welcome to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We are just underway between Campbell and UNC. Kevin Brown, Dan Bonner, our ACC Network crew. It's the final game for the Tar Heels before the meat of conference play, and the buckets have come from Jalen Washington and now R.J. Davis, the third leading scorer in Carolina history.
Both teams have started in the man-to-man, and North Carolina's ability to get it inside early made that drive for Davis possible. Campbell's a pretty good defensive team. As I say, they're very undersized against these Tar Heels.
A whistle and an offensive foul away from the ball will go against Campbell. Jason Sinani, Nolan Dorsey, Cam Gregory, the guards, Colby Dugan and Caleb Zerlini are the bigs. As the foul is on Colby Dugan, his first. Again, Campbell without Terran Frank, 6'8" starter. Only with Vanderbilt and TCU, they'll miss him in the post and as a passer, and they'll take the ball over after UNC giveaway. What do you look for early, Dan, for Carolina offensively?
North Carolina has been a little bit discombobulated at times offensively because they tend to turn it over, and that time that was a turnover that was just unforced. Davis got too deep in the lane and Cadeau just stood and watched.
Deep three is good. This is a Campbell team that shoots a lot from three without a hugely effective percentage, but Colby Dugan, who shot it well of late, gives the Fighting Camels an early lead.
55% of Dugan's field goal attempts are from beyond the arc, so you've got to pay attention to him.
Here's R.J. Davis, who is 2 3-pointers away from the school record. Marcus Page on the bench has it, and Davis has just tied him.
Now, Davis has not shot the three well so far this year, but through his career, he's been an effective three-point shooter, and he has also been a very streaky three-point shooter.
36% career, just 26 this year, but a good start. Number 299 of his Carolina career. Here's Gregory, good scorer for Campbell. A left-handed finish for the junior transfer, and then a takeaway. Zerlini denied by Washington, who then goaltends the shot of Dugan. So back-to-back buckets at the rim for Campbell.
Well, how about that? There's a blocked shot, and Zerlini pulls the ball down. That you say a behind-the-back pass. This is really something. North Carolina just not paying attention right there. Nice play by Zerlini. That's an excellent blocked shot, but nobody there to recover. Really, really aggressive start for the Camels of Campbell.
4 field goals in the first 3 minutes for Kevin McGeehan's Campbell team. 2 power conference games this year. Lost to Virginia by 9, Ohio State by 44. Late shot clock, Cadeau. banks it in. Elliot Cadeau with his first bucket.
Now that's a tough shot. Cadeau is also a guy who has struggled struggled shooting the three, but that time driving the ball to the basket against an undersized defender.
This Campbell team in its second season in the CAA after a long spell in the Big South. Travel against Jason Sinani, who is their leading scorer, and Campbell turns it over for the second time.
Sinani's a big kid, 6'3", 195 pounds. I think he felt like he had an opportunity on the inside to get a post-up move, but he traveled with the ball.
First subs for each team. Eric Vanderheiden, a senior from nearby Raleigh, will replace Zerlini for Campbell. And Vin Allen Lubin, who started the last four, comes off the bench early to replace Washington. 6'8" junior from Vanderbilt. UNC team that has struggled to get production from its bigs this year. Awfully guard-dominated team. Jackson slashing, lost it. Recollects, finds Davis. And there's the record. The 300th three-pointer of R.J. Davis's brilliant North Carolina career. He has just surpassed Marcus Page, who's on the bench right now, and now in second place as R.J. Davis ascends to the top of the Carolina record books. Powell with a rejection on the other side, and then Cadeau feeds Davis, who started 3 for 3.
Boy, Powell can get off the floor, can he?
He is just one springy freshman, as is Jackson, and what a tough finish that is. Elliot Cadeau going to the offhand, and a great offensive start for the Heels. Carolina is shooting at 6 for 7 right now.
They're getting great shots.
Gregory 3. There's Powell off the floor again with a rebound.
And they're really trying to push the ball.
Jackson driving it on Gregory. No. He's got both UNC misses.
That's one thing that this North Carolina team has not done very well so far this year, and that is rebound the ball offensively.
It's another block shot. That's 3 for the Heels. That was from Lubin. Dorsey passes up an open 3, and the jumper way too strong for Sinani. Here's Jackson in transition. Tough take. Dorsey comes away with a loose ball. Numbers for Campbell. Sinani from Dorsey with a finish, and a foul against Cadeau. So, pretty good pace to start this game, and some history for UNC's R.J. Davis. Graduate student from White Plains, New York, stands alone on the North Carolina three-point leaderboard with number 300. Davis's name will be all over Carolina's record books when it's all said and done. He's already there. He just passed Marcus Page, one of the great Tar Heel guards in recent vintage, with his 300th career three-pointer. 151st game at Carolina. Is the all-time free throw leader. He is close to passing Armando Bacot for second in points. And there is Marcus Page, Dan, a player you got to see from 12 to 16, had a great impact on this team. It's been special to watch what R.J. Davis has done since.
Wow, Davis has really been an outstanding player for North Carolina. One of the things that Davis has been dealing with this year, this is really the first time that he has been number one. And I mean a big number one. Before he's been 1A. Now everybody points directly at him, and that's an adjustment.
And you can see the crowd right there just found out it was R.J. Davis's record-setting 3, so a standing ovation from the assembled in Carolina blue. Jason Sinani must feel like that's the first
standing ovation
he's received during a free throw. Yeah, and he drilled it, so maybe he'll ask for history to be set during every free throw. Completed the three-point play. It's a good offensive start. Campbell's 5 for 10, and Carolina is 6 for 9. Kate Tyson's on the floor for UNC. A three-point shooter they really need to get going. Davis has started perfect. 3 for 3 from the field. Powell didn't see Lubin inside. Deep shot clock. Davis fouled, and he hits another. Well, why stop at 300?
Well, you remember we said he was a streaky three-point shooter? Well, he's feeling it tonight, and that is I mean, that is a really, really tough shot.
Jason Sinati, who just completed a three-point play, fouls Davis. And he cannot complete the four-point play. The all-time leading free throw shooter in Carolina history, as Tyson is the last to touch it in bounds. But what a start for R.J. Davis. 25.5% from three-point range this season. Tyson nearly took it away again.
On both ends of the court now, Tyson has touched the ball while he's been standing out of bounds trying to make a play. So really good hustle by Tyson, but just unfortunate.
A player who was brought in to be a huge three-point shooter. He's only hit a three in 3 games this season. Yeah, 9 of his 9 threes have come in 3 of Carolina's 12 games combined. In fact, he's scored 43 of his 47 in 3 games combined. He's been scoreless in all their losses. See if they can get him some baskets tonight as he's hanging out in the corner. Jackson from Davis. Another 3.
Now, North Carolina only scores 27% of their points from beyond the arc, but that's because they've shot the 3 so poorly so far this year. They've got guys who can make them, though.
Last 5 games, just 24.5% from 3. Heels are 4 for 5 tonight. Sinati swinging around Zerlini. In and out on the 3 for Campbell.
That was really good ball movement, and those are the kind of shots that are going to have to go down if Campbell's going to stay in this game. Campbell does a great job moving the ball from side to side. Now, they haven't shot any free throws so far tonight, and they are among the best free throw shooting teams in the country. So the North Carolina defense early has done a nice job keeping them off the line.
Triple sub for Campbell here. Tassos Cook is in the game. Colby Dugan. Braggy Goodmanson gets his first action as well. And Cadeau has an uncontested layup. Make it 9 for 12 for the Tar Heels and an 8-0 run.
Well, Cadeau is showing you that he's got the quickness to get past his defender out on the perimeter, and then he's got the strength to get all the way to the goal and finish.
Dugan for 3. That will go. A second 3 for Campbell for the sophomore starter, Colby Dugan.
And that's a very important basket for Campbell. North Carolina looked like they were threatening to go on one of those spurts that's going to bury an opponent.
Campbell allowed a 30-4 run in the first half of its last game. That was against Longwood. Dugan stops the 8-0 run here.
Campbell's a pretty good defensive team. They've struggled containing the dribble penetration tonight.
Cadeau from Lubin. Tyson hustling again. Zerlini corrals for Campbell. There's a deep one from Dugan. He drains it. And Colby Dugan matching R.J. Davis with a 3-for-3 start from deep.
Wow. You're right. That one was really deep. Dugan's feeling it.
His last 7, he's now 16 for 31 from 3, Colby Dugan. Cadeau feeds Powell. This game being played from behind the arc, and Tyson goes over the top for a rebounding foul. 3 for 6 for 3 for Campbell, 4 for 7 for Carolina, which leads by 4.
Tar Heels lead it by 4, and you're getting a little bit different look from North Carolina this year offensively. Watch here as the drive to the basket is made by Cadeau, and right there he's got Van Allen Lubin inside his defender, and he can dump it off to Lubin possibly for an easy basket, but instead kicks it out for the 3, which the Tar Heels miss. And there's nothing wrong with the 3-point shot, but that's really sort of a different approach. The Tar Heels have pounded it inside, and not so much this year.
It's a team that struggled at times in the half court. They're among the nation's leaders in fast break points. No fast break points tonight, all 22 in the half court for Carolina, which leads by 4. Dugan, another 3-point try, and that's tipped to Ian Jackson. So what do you want to see for North Carolina in the half court? What do you want to see them grow offensively?
Well, I'd like to see the ball go inside a little bit more. This is one way to get it inside. I'm not talking about just throwing the ball to a big guy with his back to the basket. You attack the basket, you get it to the goal. And I think one of the things you're trying to do when you get it in there, you shouldn't be totally concentrating on kicking it out for a three. Maybe finishing yourself inside or finding an open big guy inside.
Lee Jackson does what UNC did so well against UCLA, get to the line. He shot 35 free throws there in the win over UCLA at the Garden. Hey, we're set to ring in the New Year Tuesday, New Year's Eve doubleheader. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and then Virginia Tech against Cooper Flagg and 4th-ranked Duke. That starts at 2:30 Eastern. The game in Cameron to follow at 4:30. A happy early New Year. You will be down the road in Cameron for that game. Excited
I will.
to see
I'm really looking forward
Duke
to that.
Team. And you've seen Duke a couple of weeks ago as well against George Mason. What stands out to you about the Blue Devils?
Well, I think they're very versatile, first of all. They're more than just Cooper Flagg. You know, Malawatch plays really well defensively inside, and then for heaven's sakes, you bring Malik Brown off the bench.
Zerlady well short from three. There was so much hype about Flagg and Concanipple and the scores, and Duke has been, along with Tennessee, maybe one of the 2 best defensive teams in the country to start. As that shot will be goaltended on the way down for Powell.
But the other thing, I don't think Tyrese Proctor gets near enough credit for what Duke is doing. I mean, he's controls the game on the offensive end, and he really, really is a good defender.
We asked Hubert Davis, where can your team grow? He said, we preach every day. It's defense and rebounding. It's defense and rebounding. If we do that, we'll be fine. We'll play with anybody in the country. And it's a 7-5 team. He said, we're legitimately 5 or 6 possessions away from being 10-2.
They have played an extremely difficult schedule.
Gregory is bumped by Powell, who picks up the Carolina foul.
And because it's North Carolina, and because it's such a passionate fan base, there's been a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth about the fact that they're only 7-5. But that's against an outstanding schedule.
Free for Eric Vanderheiden. And he will be Vanderheiden after that shot.
Well, he's only a 26% three-point shooter. And based on that shot, it's like an old high school coach I used to know kept saying, if you have a shot like that, get closer.
I thought you were going to say you're open for a reason, which is what I heard throughout my entire playing career.
Yeah. If you miss it from 3, get closer.
Davis has not missed from 3 in this game. He's got 11. 4 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from deep. Ty Claude on the floor for UNC, wearing 0, the big from Georgia Tech. Davis fakes the 3, leans in, tried to draw the foul. It kicks out to Cadeau. Shot clock is not reset. Davis, Cadeau has to get it up and draws the iron. Gregory with the rebound. Down the floor, Zerlini leaks out. Couldn't finish the reverse.
That was a great job by North Carolina getting back.
Davis pull up 3. Tyson in there again, scrapping with Claude. Carolina's 2nd offensive rebound.
And if you're Campbell, you're coming in here, you're thinking maybe upset. You can't give up offensive rebounds.
Cadeau. Here's Tyson's first shot. It's not even close. Campbell trying to run again, beat Carolina in its own game. And Sinani is fouled. Driving it in on Cade Tyson, who picks up his 2nd.
Well, Campbell, if you look at the analytics, their pace of play isn't particularly quick, but they are not somebody trying to hold the ball. If they get the opportunity, off they go. And you don't want to let that North Carolina defense get set if you can help it. That's just a great job getting down the court.
We're now going to have a stoppage.
Previous play is under review.
An official review. Lee Cassell, Brent Hampton are at the monitor. Let's see what they're looking at.
Well, I think Sinani is bleeding. And that may be why they're looking at it. there's blood on the court. You take a look and see what happened. Now, people say that's not a flagrant foul because he's making a play on the ball. Well, if the officials, even if he is making the play on the ball, if the officials decide that that contact is excessive and/or unnecessary, they can call that a flagrant foul. I don't think they will, but anytime there's blood, they go and they look at it. He did bring that arm down pretty hard and just cracked him across the face.
Followed through by Tyson, who picks up his second. There's Sinani being attended to. Bloodied and bruised after the foul, with free throws coming.
Well, there may be more than free throws coming. The officials are spending a lot of time talking to one another about this.
Lee Cassell, Bert Smith, Brent Hampton. Official review here in a 26-18 game. It has slowed down some. Carolina's just won for its last 7. Campbell has not scored in the last 2:45.
The officials may be having this discussion just to give Sinani a chance to get back to the game.
Jason Sinani still over to the left of the court, down by the tunnel there. Campbell's leading scorer, 12.5 points per game. Senior out of Oak Creek, Wisconsin, who began his career at Milwaukee. And Sinani is back on the floor. And here comes Bert Smith to give us an explanation. All right, so Dan, that's
exactly what we were talking about. They've upgraded that from a common foul to a flagrant 1 foul. And the reason they did it was they felt that the contact, the hand coming down, slapping him across the face, in that situation where he was a vulnerable player, they felt like that contact was excessive. So it doesn't matter that he was making a play on the ball, it was excessive contact. So now what's going to happen is Sinani, who's the person who was fouled, is going to get 2 shots, and then Campbell is going to get the ball.
After further review, the personal foul is being upgraded to a flagrant 1 on Carolina number 5. It'll be 2 shots.
See, that last time Sinani went to the line, everybody was cheering. Now everybody's booing. Let's see how he handles it here.
Next time, the entire arena will go silent. Sinani, who is the best free throw shooter on the floor, 83% for Campbell.
On a team that shoots over 80%, is one of the, like the 8th ranked team in the country in free throw percentage.
They have a player, Campbell, Bragi Goodmanson, we've barely seen off the bench, who is 27 out of 27 from the free throw line this year.
When Sinani's still bleeding.
So he's going to go back over to the bench.
Well, the blood rule basically is that you can't be out on the court while you're bleeding. That you got to get the blood stopped before you can go back out there.
And the aforementioned Goodmanson is going to check in for him. And now somebody has to clean the blood off the floor by the foul line.
And got to get CSI in here to follow the blood trail.
So the forensics officers of Chapel Hill have completed their work. Sinani.
That's a big, if they can make this basket here, that is a pretty big turnaround.
Chance for
5-point trip.
Hanging around this Campbell team. It's the UNC team that has really struggled in the first halves of games this season. Vanderheiden. A lot of motion, a lot of back cuts for this Campbell offense. They call it a modified Princeton offense. Gregory end of the shot clock. His miss is rebounded by Vanderheiden, who goes over Washington and then loses the ball to Cadeau.
Really good defense by Washington.
Jackson fouled and he gets it to go. Ian Jackson a chance for 3.
Particularly in transition, you have got to stop Ian Jackson well before he gets into the lane, because he really does a nice job not only elevating, but look how far he jumps. This is like a long jump kind of thing. As we said, he's very explosive and he can really attack the basket.
Jackson's got 7, coming off of a career-high 24 in the comeback win over UCLA at the Garden. Rolls out the free throw.
Campbell has done a nice job hanging around here early, and these last 8.5 minutes really going to be critical for them here in this first half.
Doing it all without Terran Frank, their starting 5, maybe their best passer. Dugan against Lubin. Tough shot will go for Kobe Dugan, who's got 13 to tie a season high.
What a game he's having.
Cadeau's pass knocked away. Gregory with a steal. Gregory! His miss is followed up and tipped home by Dorsey. And here come the Fighting Camels. And there's Jalen Withers at the other end. Campbell just didn't get back defensively, and Withers just into the game for the first time as a bucket.
Well, Campbell had all their guys at the basket tipping it in. They didn't have enough guys to get back.
6-point lead for Carolina, underrated his first half. Dugan's hit 3 from out there. That's offline. And tracked down by Cadeau. Elliot Cadeau going 1-on-2 and still finds the angle.
He has made a couple of those tonight. Those are not easy shots, but again, he's got the kind of athleticism and quickness and strength, and when he gets in there, he is really a handful.
3 straight makes for Carolina. Cadeau's got 8. It's been a bit of a scoring slump for him.
So the one thing this Campbell team cannot do is stand. There's a lot of standing around that time. They got to move the ball and move players.
Withers off the miss from Dorsey. On the floor with Jackson, Cadeau, Davis, and Lubin. Here's Cadeau again. Inside Lubin on the roll.
Elliot Cadeau played that perfectly. He held on to the ball until Lubin was all alone, and he got it to him before the defender could get back. That's really, really a nice play.
6 straight for Carolina, and a timeout taken by Kevin McGeehan.
Now, the Campbells of Campbell are very serious about their mascot. That is the 2-ton bronze Gaylord out in front of the arena. But more interestingly, inside, they also have a Campbell. This inflatable Gaylord is huge. It's 20 feet tall. It's 15 feet long. And if you can see from the picture up in the upper left-hand corner, if you walk underneath the Camel, it's 9.5 feet from the floor to the belly of the Camel. So a regular-sized human can walk under there. Heck, even Ralph Sampson could walk under there. And this is the thing, it takes them a while to blow it up, but they have it at all the games. When the team comes on the court, they run out underneath Gaylord the Camel. It is a spectacular item, I think.
You and I need to do a game at Campbell so we can run out under the Camel, I think. I would fit under the Camel easily.
You can run. I would walk.
By the way, Gaylord Perry, one of the great pitchers in Major League history, went to Campbell. Hence Gaylord the Camel. A 3 for Gregory is good. They could shoot 2. 4-3 of the first half for Campbell, which is within 7.
Well, they only shoot 32% from out there coming in on the season, but they have made more threes than usual tonight. And they're hanging around. It's a 7-point game, and now you've hung in the game. If you're Campbell, you don't want to get a North Carolina hit you with a 12-0 spurt before the half.
Jackson 3. Dorsey the rebound for Campbell University in its 48th season of Division I basketball. 1 NCAA tournament. It was in 1992. They lost to Duke in the first round. Founded all the way back in 1887 as Bowie's Creek Academy. And there is no official reason for why Campbell's named the Camels. There are some apocryphal stories, including one in 1900 when Zachary Taylor Kivett, who was an architect, tried to console University President J.A. Campbell after a fire lit up the university. And Kivett said to Campbell, "Why are you in bed? Time's wasted." I thought Campbell's had a hump on them. As Cadeau throws it into the Camels bench. That is the legend, but the school wasn't known as the Camels for another 34 years. They were called the Hornets. Nobody really knows why, but we do know Campbell Camels, a wonderful alliterative name.
I said they're going for alliteration, and they've achieved it. Oh, good heavens.
Oh. This game needs to be reset. Somebody unplug this game and plug it back in. Fourth turnover, Campbell. Kevin McGeehan is displeased.
One of the precepts or the principles of the Princeton offense, the modified Princeton offense, call it what you want. You drive into the lane, draw the defense, and kick it out for threes, but your guys have to be ready.
Davis. Step back three. No good. He's missed his last three from out there after hitting his first three.
But that one was highly contested. That was really good defense by Dorsey. And he's the guy for Campbell that usually draws the other team's best player.
Got a screen from Dugan, who was open for three. Instead, it is Sinati. And an offensive rebound for Dorsey. Dugan, a low catch. Fires away, rims out what would have been his fourth of the half.
And that's a good point. If that is a good pass, he probably makes that three, but he had to bend over to get it.
Tyson corner. He's 0 for 2. Withers fighting for the offensive rebound. Does the split. Bert Smith says it'll stay with UNC with 18 to shoot.
Battling for the ball. I think they felt like Dorsey hit it out of bounds.
Carolina still looking for its first second chance point of the game.
Again, North Carolina historically one of the country's great offensive rebounding teams, but not so far this season.
Davis dancing. Davis denied. 2 to shoot for Jackson. Tough one.
Entirely too much dancing. The ball has to move.
On the drive, Sinati. Tyson back in there with the 2 fouls. And the 3 for Dorsey is short.
Hubert Davis tell him to go.
It's such a sluggish first half team this year, winning in this game, but only by 7 after that brilliant offensive start. Cadeau. Jackson touches it up for Withers. And the scoring drought now about 3.5 for UNC. Gregory again. Boy, Campbell's been good in transition.
You miss those threes, you create long rebounds, and that allows a team like Campbell that doesn't mind getting out to go.
A timeout taken by Hubert Davis, and the Fighting Camels are within 5 at the Dean Dome. Slow starts have been the unfortunate calling card for North Carolina this season. They've been outscored on average in the first half this year. Second half, difference of plus 9.4. The field goal percentage goes up by 10. The three-point percentage up by 9. Another slow start today, Dan. What do you make of this season-long trend?
Well, it's something you really don't want to emphasize if you're a coach, because then it gets into your kid's head. I think if I'm Hubert Davis, the number that I would be more concerned about is North Carolina in this first half. Overall is shooting 14 for 28. They're 4 for 16 from 3. That means they're 10 for 12 from 2-point range. So maybe part of the solution is, we were joking about it, is to get closer.
Their last 5 shots have all been from 3. The previous 4 all made were layups or dunks. And they missed their last 9 threes as a team. Tyson inside to Withers, and there you go. Carolina works the ball inside and will get free throws out of it. A foul, the second on Jason Sinati.
Well, Sinati was fine until he went over and ran into Withers. If he goes and establishes position between Withers and the basket, then he's okay. But he just ran right into him.
And remember, Sinati twice had to be checked for blood.
Again.
He's out of the game. There's once again a gentleman with a towel wiping up the court. You see the right nostril is plugged up for Sinati, who was fouled hard by Tyson earlier in the half.
Well, he was fouled hard by Tyson. That time he was the one who committed the hard foul. He just went and ran right into Withers. Withers turns toward the basket, and Sinani just runs into it. If Sinani establishes position and allows Withers to turn into him, then that's a different story. But Sinani's the one who initiated that contact.
So non-shooting foul, no free throws, and there's Powell. A two-point jumper is good for UNC.
Powell is another guy like Jackson who has shown some flashes. That was not an easy shot. But that's another two-point basket. So now they're now 11 for 13 from two-point range.
Nazo's Cook, backup point guard for Campbell on the floor. With a switch on Withers. Cook will pass out of it.
Oh boy, Dugan didn't even turn to look at the basket. He was alone.
Instead of tough two, rebounded by Withers. Powell fakes the three. And a foul on the drive. That'll be the 6th against Campbell in the half.
Powell's a guy, he's not a high volume three-point shooter. He's only made 10 on the year. And so I don't know that you want to be running out quite so hard at him. But if you do, he's going to go right by you.
Freshman out of Pittsburgh here in North Carolina. Powell passes up the three. Tyson takes it. He's 0 for 3. Nearly thrown away, saved inbounds by Cook with 1:30 to go in this first half.
Well, Campbell comes in with the reputation as being a pretty good defensive team, and we've seen that so far.
Zerlini driving into Tyson. Got his own miss, left it short.
Zerlini has been able to get it close, but he's had a problem finishing.
Tyson didn't want to shoot that time to the rim. And Tyson will take free throws off the foul.
And if somebody's going to come flying at you, that is a really good job to fake and drive the ball to the basket rather than shoot the contested three.
Just the 9th and 10th free throw attempts this season for Cade Tyson, transfer from Belmont. We got a great women's basketball doubleheader for you on Thursday, and then the Nothing But Net crew to follow that. Breaking down the night in the ACC after Virginia Tech, Florida State, and Stanford SMU with highlights and analysis of every women's game, and a look ahead at the best matchups on the schedule in this loaded season of women's basketball in the ACC. We have you covered all year right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. 1 for 2 for Tyson. Carolina's led by as many as 10. It's 8 right now.
Campbell's been a little stagnant on offense the last couple of trips down the court. They need to get the ball moving from side to side.
Gregory, pull-up jumper. That was not the side-to-side you may have wanted to see. Jackson is fouled. Campbell just 1 out of its last 8 now. And free throw is coming for the freshman Jackson.
I think the key to that 1 for 8 has been that they've been taking tough shots. And Gregory there is a guy who can score. He was the leading scorer at St. Francis last year.
Foul was the 2nd on Colby Dugan. So Sinani, Campbell's leading scorer in the year with 2 fouls. Dugan, their leading scorer tonight, will stay in with 2 fouls. Or will he? Kevin McGeehan very late was alerted of that, and he gets Israel Yaw to the scorer's table. And Yaw will replace Dugan.
Well, you don't want him to pick up that 3rd foul with 49 seconds left in the half. And North Carolina, they've been able to get to the line, but they're only 3 of 7.
Jackson splits a pair again. 8 points for Jackson. 8 for Cadeau, 11 for Davis for UNC. Campbell has not scored about 2.5 minutes. Final moments of the half. Cook will pass up a 3.
Good defense by Davis.
Cook drives it into his chest, knocked away by Davis. Washington swatted it out of bounds. 6 to shoot for Campbell.
Now, one of the reasons that the ball isn't going side to side for Campbell is North Carolina is not allowing them to pass the ball side to side.
Gregory. He'll drive in on Davis. Missed the shot. Carolina can hold for one. And has used a timeout. And Hubert Davis going to call another. He'll take his second timeout of this first half. And he'll set up the final play. We're back in 30 to Chapel Hill. Final 13 seconds of the half. A timeout taken by Hubert Davis. Where do you want the ball to go here for Carolina?
Well, I think, again, what you want to do is collapse that defense, and so I would want the ball to go inside. You certainly don't mind Elliot Cadeau taking it in there. You certainly don't mind Cadeau taking it in there and kicking it out to Davis, but I'd like to see the ball go toward the basket.
Some pressure comes. It's floated over to R.J. Davis. Got Yaw out in the front defensively with his great length. Cadeau inside, throws it up for Washington, who puts it in right before the expiration of the half. There were some good patient moments in this half by Cadeau, and that gives Carolina its largest lead of the first half. Elliot Cadeau, 8 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists in the first 20 minutes. Justin Walters, Seth Greenberg standing by in the studio. The Heels up 11. Guys, dance party in the seats here at Chapel Hill. North Carolina leading Campbell by 11 at the end of 20 minutes. Welcome back to the Dean Dome alongside Dan Bonner. I'm Dan's second favorite play-by-play announcer named Kevin that he'll work with this year. Second at best. I don't know if there are other Kevins in your future, but maybe. We'll see. North Carolina leading by 11. Not a perfect first half, but they did get off to a great start.
They did get off to a great start. One of the things that North Carolina has been struggling with is shooting the three, and particularly R.J. Davis shooting the three. And he came out, made his first 3 3-point baskets, and that really got the Tar Heels rolling. Now, it was a little bit uneven as the half went on, but Davis, he did a great job. Not only did he make a couple of threes, he drove the ball to the basket. He got himself to the free throw line. And that 3-point basket right there set the North Carolina all-time record. But North Carolina, they did not shoot the three very well overall in the second half, in the first half.
Well, they missed their last 10. Campbell was 4 for 16. They did not shoot it well from 3, except for Colby Dugan, who also started 3 for 3 from deep.
And he missed his last 3 of the first half. So the teams shot the 3 well early, but each of these teams has struggled to shoot the 3, and they sort of reverted to form as the half went on. But I thought it was a really good defensive effort by both teams in the first half. It'll be very interesting to see how North Carolina handles things in the second half. Specifically, look at those numbers. They're 12 for 14 shooting 2s and 4 for 17 shooting 3s. And as we talked about, maybe this philosophy is to get closer. They've done a nice job scoring on the inside. And against a lot of teams they'll play in the Atlantic Coast Conference, North Carolina will be quote-unquote undersized. They're not undersized tonight. You don't always have to play the same way.
Remember, Carolina is an elite second-half team, has been all season. So we'll see if they turn on the Jets early here in the second, or if Campbell can keep hanging around. This lead is the largest for UNC. Dugan will take it on the first possession of the half into Washington, who rejects him for UNC's third block.
That is a very optimistic approach by Dugan to take the ball at Washington, who's a pretty good defender and shot blocker, and has 5 or 6 inches on Dugan.
Cadeau and Jackson each with 8 for UNC. Behind Davis is 11. Washington off the front of the rim. He's been struggling offensively of late. And look at Jason Sinani, whose nose is completely plugged after bleeding 3 times in the first half. Zerlini caught up in the air. Dugan will want Washington again. This time a 1-foot fadeaway. Rattles it in. And Colby Dugan's one shy of a career high with 15.
Shades of Jack Sickle.
I did not know we were going to get a Jack Sickle reference on tonight's broadcast. Cadeau inside. Washington with a stop. He's had the first basket of both halves.
That's why North Carolina started the game, getting the ball inside, good screen and roll. I just don't think Campbell can guard him in there.
Washington's got 6 in 6 minutes as Campbell throws it away for its 5th turnover.
What we're talking about with Cadeau, he does this really well, delivering the ball at exactly the right time, getting it through those two defenders. Sometimes a guard in that situation holds on to it just a little bit too long, and Cadeau hadn't done that tonight.
In Carolina of the year, 5.7 assists per game. And he floats it in here, calls his own number, and he's got 10.
Well, he has made some tough drives to the basket.
Well, the second double-figure scoring game in the last 6 for Cadeau, who reached that mark his first 7 of the year. Zerlini has a height advantage on Davis, who has stepped off him. And the open jumper down to Ian Jackson. Green Dome crowd still waiting to get energized. Students are not yet back from winter break.
But it's a very good crowd here, very good size crowd.
Davis kicks it. Jackson hits it.
We really have to like Jackson. I mean, when he catches the ball out there, he is ready to let it go.
And their best three-point shooter on the year, 43% coming in. Nice little slip, and Sinati's got 7.
Well, you have to have, if you're going to run the Princeton-style offense, you have to have a big guy who can go to the top of the key and make that pass to the guy, the guard cutting through.
And Dugan was the big guy there. He's got a couple of assists. Cadeau just worms his way in, finishes inside Dorsey. Cadeau's got a dozen. And Carolina's offense has awoken here. 9 points in the first 3 minutes of the half. Another nice cut. This time Sinati was the distributor and Zerlini the finisher.
Well, you want to get out there and you want to deny the ball, but they're really looking to pass to the backdoor cutter.
Cadeau again on the roll for Washington, and it remains unguardable.
Well, Cadeau has taken over this second half, both with his scoring and his assists.
North Carolina 5 for its last 5. Lead is 16. And it will stay that way as Gregory gets fouled. He'll try to cut into it at the line.
Cadeau to Washington has been a pretty good combination so far tonight. No bounce pass that time before he threw it through the two defenders. This time he throws it over top.
Where have you seen Elliot Cadeau's game grow since the start of his freshman year last season?
I think Cadeau is one of those guys who is such a good passer that sometimes he's going to try to squeeze it into places where normal people wouldn't do that. And I think his game has grown when he has backed off on that a little bit. I think he's doing a better job, and he's still got a ways to go, but he's doing a better job, you know, making the easy play, not trying to make the spectacular play. But boy, he can make the spectacular play from time to time.
Young man out of West Orange, New Jersey, who reclassified up last season. 1 for 2 at the line for Gregory. Cadeau's got a dozen, 6 assists to 2 turnovers tonight. On the season, 3.3 turnovers per game. Behind the back here for Cadeau, and the outlet is Powell. North Carolina with Ty Claude on the floor, replacing Washington at the 5. Davis. R.J. Davis. And Claude got hit in the back. Foul against Eric Vanderhyde, and North Carolina is up to its old second half tricks again. Hot start for the Heels. Well, Elliot Cadeau's either scored or assisted on all 5 of North Carolina's baskets to begin this second half.
And his passing has really been something, but so has his driving to the basket. We've seen a couple of times that he's been able to get in there, take some contact, and score anyway. But this is just, I mean, he's spectacular. You can't guard him when he's doing this. And when he makes these passes like this, he has such a great sense of timing.
Davis is hit hard and fouled. Cadeau's got a dozen, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers in 20 minutes of play. There you go, 5 buckets in the half for Carolina. Cadeau's hit 2, assisted on 3. Coming off a 5 assist, 5 turnover game in a win over UCLA 8 days ago. Here's R.J. Davis, who scores his first point since the 14:01 mark of the first half. So 18 minutes, 6 seconds of game time. without a bucket for Davis after an early 11. And he hits both.
He got North Carolina off to a great start, and the game became a little uneven after that, but North Carolina had a lead, and they've never given it up.
Campbell's only led this game for 51 seconds all early. Vanderheiden, good cut by Zerlini. Davis went flying in for the foul, non-shooting. RJ's first.
When Campbell can get to the point where they're having some success, but North Carolina has done a nice job pressuring the ball for the most part.
Well, they found a good matchup there with Zerlini against Cadeau. Zerlini missed it, then went belly flopping on the floor, knocked it out of bounds.
And it's not that they've been easy shots, but Zerlini has missed a number of those at point-blank range. You got the matchup you want. You have got to make that basket. And Zerlini's the one who dives for it, knocks it out of bounds. But he'd really like to have that one back. You know, he's shooting over a 6'3" guy. You got to lay that in or dunk it.
He'll come out of the game right now for Yaw. Dugan's back on the floor. The Campbell team that is just 5 for 12 on layups tonight. Remember, they're without their usual starting 5-man, Terrence Frank, who's a former ESPN 100 player, Vanderbilt, TCU, and Idaho. So a little short-handed. Frank had hand surgery. He'll be out, they think, until early February. Davis inside, finds Ty Claude for his first points.
That's really good patience, and then a pivot and a powerful move to the basket.
More minutes of late for Claude, who actually began the second half against UCLA at the Garden last time out. Carolina just trying to find some answers at that 5 position.
Well, Claude is not a great offensive player, but he's a pretty good defender and a pretty good rebounder.
Remember, UNC without Seth Trimble tonight. Gregory driving, throws it up at the rim and scores it. There's a double-figure night for Cam Gregory. And then Powell down the floor, draws a foul. Dugan hits the deck after his 3rd. Colby Dugan appears to be in some pain.
Well, he landed right on his hip, and this is a situation where if you're Campbell, you've got to make sure you get back on defense. They've done a nice job for the most part tonight getting back on defense, but that time Powell, I mean, he just takes and goes right to the basket, and Dugan can't get in position. He's not moving well, I would say. And the referees are going to say maybe he ought to come out of the game.
Colby Dugan's had a wonderful night. He is 1 shy of a career high. Now Caleb Zerlini will replace him. Sophomore from Monson, Massachusetts. Double figures now in 6 of his last 7.
Well, you mentioned that Terrence Frank is out for Campbell already, and so they can ill afford to lose a guy like Dugan. If you're the Campbells, your only shot at the your team so that you can be playing your best basketball when you get into your conference tournament, and that's your ticket to the NCAA. And if you're going to build your best team, you need to have all your guys for as long as possible play together.
2 free throws for Powell, who's got 6. Zerlini shovels it inside, a steal for RJ Davis. Jackson at 3. I'm talking to Kevin McGeehan before the game.
Campbell, I think you have to play that way, because obviously if you're going to win the game, you got to come behind from 17. But it's really difficult for a team like Campbell to play up and down basketball against North Carolina. if you're playing almost totally in transition, that neutralizes the disadvantage that people think North Carolina have because they play so many guards. If you're running up and down, that's exactly the kind of atmosphere your guards like.
We've seen Carolina go with a whole lot of 4-guard lineups this year. Jackson 6'4", Powell at 6'6". Off of the 3 and the 4. They both started tonight. Ian Jackson's first start in place of the injured Seth Trimble. Davis step back. He missed his last 4 threes after hitting his first 3.
That is the kind of shot that R.J. Davis has to be able to make if North Carolina is going to have the kind of success that they're hoping to have. He's got a mismatch against a bigger guy, and that is a shot that he can make. That step back 3. You know, he's made 300 threes in his career, and a lot of them have been just like that.
Started 3 for 3, now 3 for 7. 17-point lead for UNC. 6 minutes and change into this second half. Zerlini driving it on Claude. Way too strong. How much of the year for R.J. Davis to you is down to shot selection? How much of it is down to him simply not hitting the shots he's hit the last few years?
I think that there's probably some truth to both of those things. I think more importantly is I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. A lot of accolades at the end of the season last year. A lot of preseason accolades this year. And again, he doesn't have an inside post presence like Armando Bacot to help him out. I mean, they're right on him, and they're defending him all the time with their best player. The opponents are, that is.
Davis with 13 tonight.
But it's not like he's having a bad year. He just hasn't shot the ball particularly well. That'll work.
That'll do it. His 4-3. They get 16 in the game-high 20-point lead for UNC. You just know every North Carolina opponent is going to come in going, my gosh, when is R.J. Davis going to have that game? When is he going to find the moment where he discovers his shot and never lets up?
What a pass.
Tyson in from Powell. Good finish. And Drake Powell, the strong distribution.
Well, Tyson did a nice job to run the floor, but Powell really did a nice job to find it.
North Carolina with 14 assists on 24 made tonight. They've had 9 different players in the game. All 9 have scored. Nobody with more than this guy. Career three-pointer number 302 in Carolina blue. North Carolina Campbell playing December the 29th, our final game for these teams 2024. So it's time, Dan, for some New Year's resolutions.
Well, the North Carolina Tar Heels are really talented. R.J. Davis, who you're looking at there, just passed Jeff Lamp and Mike Jaminski to go into 10th place all time in ACC scoring. But they've got to make some baskets. And one of the things they've done pretty well tonight, they have to throw the ball to the guys with North Carolina on their shirts. They can't be throwing it to the other guys. So if they can control their turnovers and shoot the ball, then I think that they have a chance in every single game they play.
Tonight they've done so very well. 24 field goals, only 4 turnovers. They had 18 turnovers against UCLA last time out. That tied a season high.
But that's not the way the Campbell offense is going to work. They've got to move the ball and move players. And if a guy just takes it, as Dorsey did right there, and drives it to the basket, and there's no passing, they got no shot.
Carolina plus 11 in the first half, plus 11 in the first 8 minutes of the second. Davis a game high 16. He's tied a season high with 4 made threes. He'll wriggle around. He'll feed Tyson, who will miss another from deep. Shot not right for Cade Tyson, who's 0 for 4 from 3. Let's get back there to defend Dugan. Back on the floor after a hard fall and a hard foul a few minutes ago.
I'm telling you, Dugan isn't the most graceful looking basketball player, but he really plays hard.
Back cut intercepted by Cadeau, who's then fouled from behind by Gregory. 22-point lead for North Carolina, resolving to have another strong second half. It's December 29th. Students are out of session. And it's Campbell. You wouldn't think that would be a recipe for a huge crowd, but Dan, there is just something special about any basketball day here at Chapel Hill.
There's no question about it. North Carolina obviously has a huge fan base, and it's hard to get tickets. And so now with those kind of student tickets available, they can sell the tickets. They can have families come in for Christmas presents. And they do an interesting thing here. You can go up to guest services, and you can get a certificate for your first Carolina basketball game. Now, I know this isn't your first Carolina basketball game, but it's your first one with me. So they decided to give you an honorary certificate.
Oh, my gosh.
But that's the kind of thing that they do. It's really a big-time thing for people to come to basketball games here, and that's a pretty clever marketing ploy.
And here I thought you hadn't got me anything for Christmas.
Well,
just 4 days behind. Or, as Washington misses, or you're already ahead of your Christmas gift to me for next year.
okay, an early Christmas gift.
Look at it. Well, this is it's signed by Hubert Davis and Bubba Cunningham.
There you go.
And first game, here it is right there. There's the certificate. There's Freddie. First game at the Dean Smith Center with the legend Freddie Kiger on stats. Can you write first game at the Dean Smith Center with Dan Bonner? Can you sign this for me too?
I don't know that I should. Do that. And you have to give it back to Fred now because he's got his stat card on the back.
Freddie's stat card. I didn't know it was at the table the whole time. Washington, off the miss from Kadosh, shoves it home. He's got 10. His second game in double figures this year.
Well, they went to him early in the game, early in the second half. He's gotten a couple of offensive rebounds.
Dugan inside, making a career high 17 for Dugan, who takes the ball off his noggin at the end. Colby Dugan, a day he'll never forget, a career high in the Dean Dome.
When you're talking about Washington, that's part of the issue for Hubert Davis and his staff. Powell's another one of those youngsters who can really play. But one of the issues for Hubert Davis and his staff is which one of their big guys is going to step forward and have a good game in any particular game. Today, Washington has scored well, but will it be Claude? Will it be Withers? Who will it be? It's not going to be the same guy every night. And so North Carolina has to figure out who has the hot hand, who's playing the best, and work it that way.
Colby Dugan, meanwhile, now with 20. His previous career high came against Southern Virginia. Southern Virginia and North Carolina a little bit farther apart in game quality than they are geographically. But a memorable night for Dugan, as Campbell will take back over. Every Thursday, women's basketball takes over the ACC network. Nice doubleheader this one. Virginia Tech and Florida State, both projected NCAA tournament teams, kick it off at 6 Eastern, followed by ACC newbies Stanford and SMU. Both games on the ACC network and streaming live on the ESPN app. 6 ranked teams in ACC women's basketball right now. Florida State is 11-2. Dugan again. Stuck on 20. He's got 20 of Campbell's 45. Jackson, a fast break bucket. That was goaltended in as well. So 13 for Ian Jackson in his first start.
And that's the other thing that North Carolina has been able to do in this second half. They've really been able to get out and go in transition. And historically, North Carolina teams have played very well when they're able to get out in transition.
They're playing at the 4th fastest pace in terms of quickest offensive possessions in all of Division I this year. Use up less than half the shot clock on average. This jumper by Gregory, who's got a dozen. And Gregory leading scorer at St. Francis a year ago.
And again, we're talking about a Campbell team that has a different approach to the basketball season than North Carolina does. North Carolina, they're worried about the net, and they're worried about strength of schedule, and they're trying to figure out what can we do to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. If we don't win the conference tournament, there's a foul inside. Withersby going to the line. Whereas Campbell, the only thing they're worried about is to try to put their pieces together so by the end of the season, they're playing their best basketball so they can perform at their top level of efficiency in the conference tournament, because that's the only way they're getting in. Now, Kevin McGeehan, he obviously wants to win as many games as possible during the course of the season. You don't want to have to get out and win 5 games in your tournament. But this is it's a whole different approach. You're trying to go through the season to build your team.
Withers put in the free throw, but Lee Cassell and Bert Smith got together. I'm not sure that they were ready for play yet. It sounded like the horn had gone off right before Withers was about to take the free throw.
Well, that would be okay if it happened to Campbell, but you don't want to be doing that at home.
So let's see. Lee Cassell, I think
they
it just
call
said
it a
that
goaltend. I think that's the issue. Trying to decide how many shots he gets.
he held up one finger. So let's see what's happening here. Foul on Gregory. Lee Cassell, Bert Smith, Brent Hampton once again conversing. And they will say 2 shots for Withers. So forget you saw the first one. That wasn't really the first one. This is really the first one, and it's good.
Okay.
Can we get a certificate for that?
I don't think so.
You know people. No, you could make it happen. Well, you know Freddie. He could make it happen.
Freddie could make anything happen at Chapel Hill.
Now Claude will check in. Withers goes 3 for 3 for 2 points.
Now Jalen Withers is another guy with an awful lot of talent too. It would really help North Carolina if he could make a bigger contribution.
Dorsey will go to the line for 2. Yeah, how do you see the lineups shaking out for Carolina as the years gone on, with their struggles to find consistency at the 5, and then Withers, who was great early and has dropped off a little late?
Well, Withers isn't really your low post guy. He's not a 5, and they don't really have anybody on the team who meets that definition in the way we assign positions in basketball now. So again, I think you play your best players. And obviously you can't play all 5 guards. You need somebody in there defensively. And I think that's going to be the challenge, again, for Hubert Davis and his staff to try to put your best 4 offensive players out there and figure out who's going to help you in the middle.
Meanwhile, Dorsey missed both free throws, and that means 3 crumble cookies, which is one of the all-time great free throw promotions. So that may have been the loudest, at least the right side of the crowd has been all second half. Jackson's layup will give him something else to cheer about as this game continues to crumble away from Campbell.
Well, that was a good move by Jackson, but probably not as good as those cookies.
Have you had crumble cookies?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. They would be a 1 seed. 15 for Jackson. Lead is 26. Gregory to the 10, and he's got 14. He and Dugan have been pretty much the whole Campbell offense for chunks of this game.
I think North Carolina's been pretty good defensively. You know, they have not really allowed Campbell to sort of run that open court kind of offense. They've not allowed the ball to go from side to side. They've done a nice job.
Davis crosses over and drains his 5th 3, a new season high.
Did somebody say he was struggling shooting threes?
I think everybody said he was struggling shooting threes. Sinani cannot answer. Maybe this is the day where it all clicks for R.J. Davis. Jackson bumped and fouled. He'll go to the line for a 1-and-1 when we come back. It has been an R.J. Davis kind of night, moving up the ACC scoring charts, moving atop the Carolina 3-point shooting ones. R.J. Davis with a season-high 5 threes. En route to 19 points for North Carolina, making 303 career-made 3-pointers, and he's doing it, Dan, in some fabulous footwear.
Well, you know, when he wears pink shoes, he scores a lot of points. We just told the last time he wore pink shoes, he scored 42 against Miami. But not only that, he has become the number 10 all-time leading scorer in the history of the ACC. And it's interesting to note the guys he just passed. He passed David Thompson, Jeff Lamp, and Mike Jaminski. Those are 3 big names in the history of this conference.
Can you, for some of our younger viewers, elucidate how wonderful Jeff Lamp and Mike Jaminski were?
Oh, Jeff Lamp was one of those guys for Virginia. He played for Terry Holland at Virginia. They went to a Final Four. But at the end of the game, you knew, everybody in the building knew Jeff Lamp was going to get the ball. Yet time and time again, he got the ball and he scored. And Mike Jaminski was just a great player at Duke, your classic low post guy.
R.J. Davis putting his name in lights with those two. There'll be more players he'll be passing in all likelihood before the season's over. Dugan, a strong drive, continuing a strong evening. 22 for the sophomore from Monson, Mass.
Well, that's a mistake by Withers. I know Dugan has made a couple of threes, but you don't want to be running it out there on the perimeter.
Again, Colby Dugan's career high was 16 points a season ago. That was against Southern Virginia University. And if you're wondering, wait a minute, there are about 870,000 Division I teams. I don't remember Southern Virginia University. That's because they're Division III. So his previous career high was against a D3 team. Now he smashed that against one of the all-time great D1 teams. As Ian Jackson has 19, getting closer to his season high. It's not going to be a win for Campbell, but what a special night it is for Colby Dugan, who did not score in double figures in his first 6 of the year and has now done so 6 of 7. Sinani is fouled.
One of the things that if you look at Campbell's numbers, they coming in, they were not shooting the ball really well. They've been a pretty good defensive team. They've rebounded the ball pretty well, but they haven't shot it very well. So Dugan coming on. Again, this is the kind of thing we're talking about. Kevin McGeehan is trying to develop his team as the season goes on, and this is certainly a difficult test.
Dugan will get back to the line. You mentioned it a little earlier. It's a different philosophy for Campbell, which doesn't have to worry about getting an at-large bid. How does that change the way you coach and you teach your team the first few months of the year?
Well, what you're trying to do, and it's what everybody tried to do when North Carolina State won their national championship in 1974. They intentionally were trying to play their best basketball at the end of the season. They basically did very little in preseason practice, and they didn't really mind it if they struggled sometimes early in the season. They wanted to make sure. In those days, you had to win the ACC tournament to go to the NCAA tournament. And they still had a great year because they had a great team, but that was the philosophy. You build your team throughout the year, win as many games as possible, but make sure you're playing your best by the time you go to your conference tournament.
And the game is in a different place now. The old criteria of how you do in your last 10 games, that is not stated as a part of the criteria for the selection committee, which seems a little unusual to me, given that now we're in the transfer portal world, where for 3 months at least, it seems like nobody has figured their team out yet. And yet, you got to win games in November and December if you're North Carolina, or else your at-large bid may go up in smoke.
Well, they have played well enough that their at-large bid isn't going up in smoke. They played a very difficult schedule. They played 7 games against Quad 1 opposition. And that's the Quad 1 is in the net system. And the definition of a net starts with an algorithm, and so as soon as the word algorithm gets in there, I'm out. But they've played really good competition, and it's interesting, the only team ranked above them in the net that has played as many as 7 games is Auburn. Now North Carolina's 2-5 in those 7 games. Gudmundsson hits that, and you mentioned before, he's a pretty good shooter. Auburn is 6-1 in their games. That's why they're ranked #1 in the net. But the other interesting thing about North Carolina, this will be a Quad 4 game. That guy was open, but he's in the 4th row. This will be a Quad 4 game for North Carolina, but it's only their 2nd Quad 4 game of the year. So not only have they played a lot of really good teams in Quad 1, but they haven't played any bad teams.
And it's only their 5th home game out of the first 12. Dugan, another 3. 27 for Colby Dugan. What a show. It's more than doubled his season high. He has obliterated his career high. Jackson weaving his way in. 21 for Ian Jackson, and back-to-back 20-point efforts for the freshman. Zurlini for 3. Campbell suddenly getting hot. They fit 3 in a row from deep.
Well, again, coming in on the season, they only shoot 31% from out there.
Jackson, one more. He's got another in 24, and he has just tied a season high. Back-to-back 24-point games for the freshman out of the Bronx, Ian Jackson.
Kind of the amazing thing about Jackson, he scores, it looks so effortless. Now, it's not. He's working really hard, but, I mean, he just catches that ball. Whenever he catches it, he is ready to go.
How great was it what Hubert Davis told us earlier today? We asked about Ian Jackson. He said every day he texts me, Coach Davis. That's it. And then Hubert says, I'll respond, Player Jackson. And then Ian will say, what can I do to get better today? Dugan, nobody realized it was only a one-on-one situation. He puts in his own miss, and then he gets fouled again. Colby Dugan must feel like he's floating right now.
Well, the ball came right back to him. Nobody blocked him out. But that was a great story that Hubert Davis told about Jackson. And the reason he was telling us that story was, number one, I think to show that he could text. You know, he's bragging about that. But the other thing was to indicate that how willing to be coached Jackson is. And even though he is an outstanding player, and we've seen that, he's got tremendous talent, that he wants to get better. He wants to be coached. And that's not always the case in this day and age.
This is not, for Hubert Davis, a very vocal team right now. He said, I've had to bring more energy than I've ever had to bring, but it's a great group of kids. He loves the people on the team, just hoping to get a little bit more of their personality out, a little bit more communication on the floor, but it's a group he really adores, including the freshman Jackson Powell. And then there's RJ.
Well, that's the shot when he's hot. And we said what a streaky shooter he was. Dugan can't guard that.
23 for Davis. I don't know if we could say it's got to be the shoes, but when he wears them, he scores at him. Carolina well on the way to a dominant performance. Looking pretty in pink. So every game matters for the net. As Dan mentioned, an algorithm that's used to help place teams in the tournament. This is a quad 4 game for Campbell. You want to run up the score in the margins for Carolina, which is an interesting team to compare to Arizona, because they're actually ranked below Arizona in the net despite a couple of quad 1 wins.
Well, Arizona has lost 5 quad 1 games. So has North Carolina, but North Carolina's won 2. Arizona has played 4 games against quad 4 competition. Only 1 so far for the Tar Heels, although, as we said, this one is. And this is a discussion, you know, it's way too early, in my opinion, talking about the NCAA tournament, but that's what we do now. I mean, good heavens, our good friend Joe Lenardi, like the first game of the season, he's got his brackets out.
So would you like to explain to us why North Carolina is 7 behind Arizona as you calculated all of the numbers in the net?
Well, no, because I can't. Like I say, as soon as you use the term algorithm,
you're out. Algorithmically removed. Well, the tough thing for UNC is going to be there just aren't as many opportunities in the ACC as there are in
well, that's
Big 12.
correct. The ACC with the performance overall by the teams. But it's interesting the way North Carolina's schedule works out right now based on the net. The Tar Heels in conference play have 6 remaining quad 1 opportunities. And there's only 2 more quad 4 games for them on the schedule based upon, and the quad system is based upon where you play. You know, if you play a team with a net rating of 30 or below, 1 through 30, if you play them at home, then that's a quad 1 game. If you play them on the road, then if they're like 74, it's a quad 1 game. But this is what North Carolina's schedule looks like. They've got Duke twice, they've got Pitt twice, and based on the current net, those are all 4 quad 1 games. They've got Louisville on the road, they've got Clemson on the road, and the way the net stands right now, those are quad 1 games. But so you see, North Carolina's got a pretty good schedule left, and I don't think it means they have to win all those games. I think, as an old coach once said, they've put themselves in a position to be in a position, and now they just have to produce.
would you say the ceiling is the roof for Carolina?
Yes, absolutely.
Powell hits a three. 92 for the Heels.
You know, they've got some weapons, don't they?
Oh, gosh. The talent on this team with Powell and Jackson with the guard the wing positions, it is outrageous. James Brown is on the floor right now, freshman center. He fouls Dugan. By the way, the last Campbell free throws were from Bragi Goodmanson, who's now 29 for 29 at the line this year, and that is the most made free throws without a miss in Division I. And Dugan will get back to the line where he's 3 for 5 en route to a career high 30 points.
Well, he is in another world tonight. That time he got fouled because he flipped the ball up with his back to the basket and flipped it over his head and got fouled. I'm surprised it didn't go in.
Well, his career high was 16, and now it is 16 plus 16. 32 points for Colby Dugan, an 8.5 per game scorer. Just an all-time heater of a night. A night that will go down as a Campbell loss, but will go down as an amazing experience for these kids. Maybe not amazing on that play, as he and Jackson just dunked all over their dromedary and Bactrian humps. And then Brown hits the deck and is called for a foul. A new season high for Captain Jack.
That was an outstanding pass by Cadeau, but it's one of those passes where if that is not an absolutely perfect pass, that ball gets tipped away. And Cadeau is going to have a lot of assists because he is a risk taker, and there's Jackson. He has really performed well. Cadeau has 11 assists tonight.
And that's a new career high for Elliott, who had 10 assists against Tennessee a year ago. Hey, don't forget about ACC PM every weekday, 4 Eastern, right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Mark Packer and Taylor Tannenbaum taking you through everything this league has to offer as conference play really heats up for the men's and women's basketball teams, right here on ACC Network all week long. 94-73. RJ Davis still out there with 2 minutes to go. And Davis bricks the three. And there's a foul. James Brown was going for the rebound.
Well, that shot looked different, not just because it didn't go in, but he was sort of off balance and stumbling backward. You know, I think with Davis, it's really important that he play under control. But much like Cadeau with his passing, Davis can make an amazing variety of shots. And sometimes he just gets his eyes get a little big.
And he will get a hand now, leaving the game with 23. One of the high fives he's going to get right there will be Marcus Page. His three-point record he broke today. 303 in his Carolina career, which has, of course, spanned into a 5th year. You can't put an asterisk if you want on some of these records, 5 years, which many players didn't have the luxury of having. But either way, spectacular career for RJ Davis. Sinati with the three. That's the 9th of the game for Campbell, which has now hit its last 4 threes. They've got hot late in the game.
And that's a good sign for the Campbells. You know, again, as they build toward their conference season and their conference tournament.
Well, they were nearly 30-point underdogs in this game. They acquitted themselves well. Good first half. Hot shooting late in the game. Brown from Cadeau. Making a career-high 12 assists for Elliott Cadeau. And James Brown with his first field goal of the night. Sinati, another Campbell three for Sinati. And Hubert Davis will have some film study to review. All these open threes late in the game. Kevin McGee's going to take a timeout with 1 minute and a second left.
Well, coaches always like to have something to talk about when they're looking at the tape. But Cadeau has done such a nice job with his timing on these pick and rolls. And not only that, he has known very well when to go over the top with the pass and when to do a bounce pass. He's been very impressive. And I have to tell you,
97-79 on the palindromic scoreline. What do you think UNC will take away from tonight?
Well, I don't think there's a lot of things that you can take away from a game like this. You've just come back from an extended break. Your guys are coming back from Christmas. You certainly don't want to play the #1 team in the country in a game like this. And so, yeah, there's going to be a couple of rough spots, but they got them all straightened out. And so they've made some threes tonight. As we said, they had to make some shots, and they did. They haven't rebounded the ball particularly well, but again, this is a Campbell team that's a scrappy bunch of fighters, and sometimes it's hard to rebound against guys like that. But I think if you're North Carolina, you have to be very satisfied. It's a very positive step forward as you now prepare for conference play.
And the one early game, Georgia Tech, shoved in the middle of non-conference. Then they go to Louisville Wednesday, and then Notre Dame on Saturday, so back-to-back road games. Career high 12 assists tonight to go with 12 points for Elliot Cadeau. Man at the operation right now. Look at a screen from James Brown. Cadeau, Jackson, that shot tipped. And Jackson did not get it off at time, so shot clock violation.
Looks good, though.
It did. Pretty much everything he's done tonight has looked good. 26-5 for Ian Jackson. He's played 36 minutes in this game with no Seth Trimble.
And that's what I was just going to say. The other thing you have to consider is they haven't had Seth Trimble tonight. And he is obviously a key part of their team.
UNC is going to bring in a couple of walk-ons here for the closing moments. Dante Mayo Jr. is among them. Russell Hawkins as well. Carolina's also got John Holbrook, freshman, in the game. And Campbell will have it with 16 seconds to go. Mayo, who's got Carolina blue in his bloodlines, on the floor.
I said North Carolina hadn't rebounded the ball necessarily well tonight. I meant on the offensive end. On the defensive end, they basically dominated the defensive boards.
Final basket for Goodmanson will go, so Campbell puts up 81. And North Carolina puts up 97. So the Tar Heels come back from the week-long break with a great offensive display and a 16-point win in the first ever meeting between UNC and Campbell.
Well, again, it's a very workmanlike performance by North Carolina, but I'll tell you what, Kevin, no matter what weaknesses they may have, they put up 97 points. They're going to be hard to beat.
Dan, it was a pleasure to get this first game with you certificate. Please sign this before we leave. For Dan Bott, our ACC Network crew, Kevin Brown, and hey, the fun really starts now because conference play is coming. So happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you in the new year for ACC basketball. But a great conversation coming up. Coach K and Roy Williams, rivals reunited.